What is the greatest "screw it, I'll do it myself" moment in history? 1. The man who invented the automatic switchboard did so because his funeral home wasn't getting any customers. Switchboards used to require a person to physically move a cable to connect the call. The lady operating the switchboard was the wife of his rival and was redirecting the calls to her husband. Instead of complaining to the phone company, which would have probably gotten her fired if they found sufficient evidence, he took matters into his own hands and made her entire job obsolete. 2. Dr. Barry Marshall for infecting himself with H. pylori to prove they were the cause of ulcers. He earned a Nobel Prize for his efforts. Seriously, go watch old TV shows and movies. There's always some guy chugging Pepto or mainlining ulcer medicine because they're 5 minutes past the deadline. Dr. Marshall killed the billion-dollar ulcer medicine industry. 3. Famous writer Roald Dahl, known for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the BFG, James and the Giant Peach, and more, developed and patented a surgical device to treat children with traumatic brain injuries. Dahl had no medical training, he just did it. Dahl's 4-year-old son was injured in a car accident and developed dangerous pressure on his brain due to swelling. Surgeons installed a shunt in his skull to drain fluid and relieve pressure, but it kept clogging. With no better solution on the market, Dahl worked with a toy maker to design a new shunt that drained fluid without clogging. Dahl was able to patent the design, which was subsequently used to treat thousands of children. 4. The doctor who had to do his own appendectomy in a mirror because he was the only one who could do it in Antarctica. 5. In 1959, Dashrath Manji's wife died from injuries resulting from trying to cross the mountain to access the closest hospital. There was no road, so he, over the course of over 2 decades with a hammer and chisel, moved the freaking mountain. His country, India, made a postage stamp with the guy's face on it. Dude swore vengeance on a damn mountain and won. 6. Dr. Tracy Dixon. Salazar, who went and got her PhD in neurobiology because her daughter was having seizures and nobody could tell her why this was happening and nobody could treat her daughter. She found a treatment when nobody else could. Incredible woman. 7. Didn't Lamborghini start making supercars because the owner tried to buy a Ferrari and they wouldn't sell to him? Someone commented. He thought the clutch was garbage, met with Enzo Ferrari to complain about the clutch and what he believed could be done to make it better. Enzo dismissed him, saying that he should stick to building tractors, as if tractors don't have a clutch. 8. Wikipedia passage about the U.S. soldier Audie Murphy at the Colmar Pocket in Usahuis. The Germans scored a direct hit on an M10 tank destroyer, setting it alight and forcing the crew to abandon it. Murphy ordered his men to retreat to positions in the woods, remaining alone at his post, shooting his M1 carbine and directing artillery fire via his field radio, while the Germans aimed fire directly at his position. Murphy mounted the abandoned burning tank destroyer and began firing its .50 caliber machine gun at the advancing Germans, killing a squad crawling through a ditch towards him. For an hour, Murphy stood on the flaming tank destroyer, returning German fire from foot soldiers and advancing tanks, killing or wounding 50 Germans. He sustained a leg wound during his stand and stopped only after he ran out of ammunition. Murphy rejoined his men, disregarding his own injury, and led them back to repel the Germans. He insisted on remaining with his men while his wounds were treated. He was 19 years old when this occurred. Someone commented, "Missing a big piece of info here. The Browning .50 gun was pod-mounted on the tank destroyer. However, it had a limited field of fire from the mounted position. So Murphy at points picked it up and was hip-firing a freaking Browning .50 cal, which weighs 84 libs, without ammo. Murphy was 5'5" and about 95 libs. So, on top of being atop a burning tank destroyer and being under heavy fire and getting wounded multiple times and calling in artillery barrages, the dude went straight Super Saiyan and was pulling off superhuman feats in the process. There's a reason why he's the most highly decorated soldier is US military history, and why the dude died so young. 9. North Korea attempted to hack someone who used to do cybersecurity for the Department of Defense in an attempt to steal some of his hacking software. He notified the FBI, and after waiting a year for nothing to come of it, he decided to hack into servers and routers of North Korea and effectively took down their internet as well as virtually all of their sites for many days. 10. Newton inventing calculus. He was trying to solve problems that were unsolvable or very tedious to solve. Instead of trying to solve them with the help of his peers, he simply invented a new branch of mathematics to solve them. And then he basically discarded his invention after he achieved his goal because he moved on to other problems. Later, there were rumblings about a new way to solve problems, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I did that years ago. It's in some of my journals over there." 11. John Stapp. Air Force doctor who was convinced that more pilots could survive if their seats didn't disintegrate on crash landings. He proved it by strapping himself into a Mythbusters-style rocket sled and not dying. His work led to safer planes and cars. By riding the decelerator sled, Stapp demonstrated that a human can withstand at least 46.2 Gs in the forward position with adequate harnessing. This is the highest known acceleration voluntarily encountered by a human, set on December 10, 1954. Stapp reached a speed of 632 km/h, 1,017 km/h, which broke the land speed record and made him the fastest man on Earth. 12. English doctor Edward Jenner noticed that milkmaids who had caught cowpox, a close genetic relative of smallpox, with significantly reduced virulence, did not seem to catch smallpox when outbreaks occurred. He hypothesized to other physicians that infection with cowpox could be used to prevent smallpox, but they didn't buy it and essentially laughed him out of the room. Jenner proceeded to infect his gardener's 8-year-old son with cowpox and, after the boy recovered, exposed him to smallpox repeatedly, effectively demonstrating his initial hypothesis to the initially skeptical medical community. Jenner's On the Origin of the Vaccine Inoculation, wherein he published his results, set the foundation for the first smallpox vaccine and eventually the eradication of the disease altogether. 13. Neil Armstrong going to manual control on the Apollo 11 lunar lander when he saw the computer was steering them towards a rocky landing site. 14. General Vladimir Pikolov didn't want his men exposed to radiation during the Chernobyl disaster, so he personally drove around the perimeter of the power plant to get exact radiation levels and exposing himself to 137 rems. A lot of people think that this was just a part of the show, but this man really made a necessary sacrifice and should be acknowledged as a hero. 15. When Bill Burr attacked the city of Philly, when all the comedians before him got booed off the stage, he sat there and did his 15 minutes, and in all 15 minutes, he roasted, burned, attacked, whatever you want to call it, basically cooked the city of Philadelphia and everything it stood for. That concludes today's stories. If you like stories like these, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. If you have any opinions on these stories, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to hear from you all soon.